The distress beacon had been pulsing for 3 weeks before anyone heard it. The human exploration vessel Horizon's Edge picked up the signal while charting the outer rim of the Keith system. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the dead planet rotate slowly on the view screen. Keth 7 was supposed to be empty. The entire planet had been quarantined 15 years ago after some kind of industrial accident. No one was supposed to be here. "The signal is coming from the southern continent," said Pete Carter, the ship's engineer. He was a thin man with nervous hands that were always moving across his console. "Looks like a Vraxian research station." "Big one, too." Lucy Hayes looked up from her medical station. She was young for a ship's doctor, barely 30, with red hair tied back in a practical bun. "Vraxians? What would they be doing on a quarantined world?" Jake crossed his arms. The Vraxians were trouble. Everyone in the fleet knew that. They were a warrior species, tall and covered in gray scales, with technology that made human ships look like toys. They didn't like humans much, and the feeling was mutual. But a distress beacon was a distress beacon. Space law was clear about that. "We have to check it out," Jake said. "Get a team ready. Lucy, Pete, you're with me. Standard exploration gear." An hour later, the shuttle touched down on a landing pad covered in dust. The research facility rose up before them like a metal mountain. It was huge, easily 10 stories tall with no windows. The walls were made of the same gray metal the Vraxians used for their warships. Whatever they were doing here, they wanted it protected. Jake led the way to the main entrance. The door was open. That was the first sign something was wrong. Vraxians never left doors open. Their whole culture was built on security and control. Inside, the facility was dark. Emergency lights flickered in the hallways, casting red shadows on the walls. The place smelled wrong too, like burned metal and something organic that Jake couldn't identify. "Power is down to emergency levels," Pete said, checking his scanner. "Life support is failing." Whatever happened here, it happened fast. They moved deeper into the facility. Every room they passed was destroyed. Equipment lay scattered across floors. Computers were smashed. In one lab, Jake found a wall that had been torn open from the inside. The metal was peeled back like paper, with claw marks gouged deep into the reinforced steel. "What could do that?" Lucy whispered. She ran her hand near the marks without touching them. "This metal is rated to withstand plasma fire." Jake shook his head. He had no answer. They found the first body in the next corridor. It was a Vraxian scientist still wearing a white lab coat. Jake didn't look too closely at the wounds. Whatever had killed this person had been strong and angry. "We should leave," Pete said. His voice was shaking. "Call this in and let someone else handle it." But Jake kept walking. They needed to know what happened here. The beacon was still pulsing, still calling for help. Someone might still be alive. The containment wing was in the lower levels. They took an elevator down 3 floors and the doors opened onto a nightmare. The entire level had been torn apart. Cells lined both sides of a long hallway, each one built to hold something dangerous. Most of the cells were empty. A few contained bodies, small bodies, creatures that looked like a mix between Vraxian and something else. Lucy moved to the nearest cell and scanned the body inside. Her face went pale. "These are children, Vraxian children, but they've been changed, genetically modified. Someone was experimenting on them." Jake felt sick. The Vraxians were warriors, but this was beyond war. This was something evil. "Look at this," Pete called from further down the hall. He stood in front of a cell that had been completely destroyed. The door was gone. The walls had holes torn through them. Inside, the cell was empty except for scratches on the floor and walls. Deep scratches like something had been trying to dig its way out for a long time. Jake checked the cell number. Subject 7K. According to the logs, this one was the youngest. "Just a few months old. It escaped," Lucy said. She was reading data from a nearby computer that still had power. 3 days ago. The security footage shows it tearing through the containment door. The guards tried to stop it, but it was too fast, too strong. "Where did it go?" Jake asked. Pete pointed to a ventilation shaft high up on the wall. The cover had been ripped off. In there. The whole ventilation system connects to every part of the facility. They searched for 2 more hours. The creature, whatever it was, had moved through the facility like a ghost. Security cameras caught glimpses of it. A small shape, no bigger than a human child moving fast through shadows. In one video, it paused in a doorway and Jake got a clear look. It had dark fur covered in glowing patterns that pulsed with light. Its eyes were huge and amber-colored, reflecting the camera light. It had claws on its hands and feet, each one as long as Jake's finger. But what struck him most was the look on its face. It wasn't angry or vicious. It looked terrified. "It's just a baby," Lucy said softly. "A scared baby that doesn't understand what's happening to it." As if responding to her words, something moved in the shadows at the end of the hall. Jake turned, bringing up his light. Two amber eyes stared back at him from the darkness. The creature crouched low, ready to run or fight. It made a sound, soft and plaintive, like a question. "Easy," Jake said. He lowered his light so it wouldn't shine directly in the creature's eyes. "We're not going to hurt you." The creature tilted its head, studying him. For a moment, Jake thought it might come closer. Then an alarm blared through the facility. Red lights flashed. The creature shrieked and ran, moving so fast Jake barely saw it. It hit a security door at the end of the hall. The door was solid steel, locked and reinforced. The creature's claws glowed with the same amber light as its eyes. It slashed at the door and the metal screamed. Sparks flew. In less than 5 seconds, the creature had torn a hole large enough to slip through. The edges of the metal were still glowing hot as the creature disappeared into the darkness beyond. Jake ran to the door and looked through the hole. He couldn't see anything, but he could hear something. Somewhere in the darkness, the creature was crying. It sounded so human that it made his chest hurt. "We can't leave it here," Lucy said. She had followed him to the door. "This facility is falling apart. The power will fail completely in a few hours. It will die down here in the dark." Pete shook his head. "Are you crazy? That thing just went through a security door like it was cardboard. It killed at least a dozen Vraxian guards. We can't bring that on our ship." But Jake was already making his decision. He had heard that cry. He had seen the fear in those amber eyes. Whatever the Vraxians had done to this creature, it was still just a child. A child that had been hurt and changed into something it never asked to be. "Get the shuttle ready," Jake said, "and prepare the cargo bay. We're taking it with us." "Captain Grant is going to kill you," Pete muttered, but he was already heading back to the elevator. Lucy smiled. "I'll start setting up a medical station. If we can catch it." Jake looked through the torn door again. Somewhere in the dark facility, Subject 7K was hiding. Probably knowing that more people had come, people who might hurt it again. Jake had to make a choice. He could leave this creature here to die, or he could risk his ship and crew to save something that might be dangerous. He thought about those amber eyes. The fear in them, the confusion. "We're not leaving you here," Jake said to the darkness. "I promise." The creature didn't answer. But somewhere in the facility the crying stopped, and Jake could have sworn he heard something listening. It took them 6 hours to capture the creature. 6 hours of careful tracking through dark corridors and destroyed laboratories. Jake moved slowly, talking the whole time, telling the creature they wanted to help. He didn't know if it could understand him, but he hoped his voice would sound less threatening than silence. Lucy had the idea to use food. They found sealed packages in the facility's storage area. Vraxian food supplements designed for young ones. They left trails of the pellets through the corridors, leading back toward the main entrance. Then they waited. The creature was smart. It didn't come right away. Jake watched on his scanner as the small heat signature moved through the walls, circling their position. Testing them. Looking for a trap. Finally, after 2 hours, hunger won. The creature emerged from a ventilation shaft and dropped silently to the floor. Up close, it was smaller than Jake expected. Maybe 3 feet tall when standing, with a body that seemed too thin under the dark fur. The glowing patterns on its skin pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Its claws caught the light as it picked up food pellets one by one, never taking its eyes off the humans. "Hey there," Jake said softly. "That's it. You're hungry, aren't you?" The creature's ears swiveled toward his voice. They were large and mobile, like a bat's ears covered in the same dark fur. The creature ate 3 more pellets, then looked directly at Jake. Those amber eyes were intelligent. Too intelligent for a simple animal. Lucy had prepared a containment box. It was clear plastic, reinforced with metal mesh with air holes and a soft bottom. She slowly pushed it across the floor toward the creature. The creature hissed and backed away, but it didn't run. "It's okay," Lucy said. "We're going to take you somewhere safe. Somewhere with food and warmth. No more experiments. No more cages." The creature looked at the box, then at the food inside it. Jake had placed a pile of pellets in the back corner. The creature's stomach made a growling sound loud enough for everyone to hear. It was starving. The decision took 3 minutes. Jake watched as the creature weighed its fear against its hunger. Finally, it moved. Fast and low, it darted into the box and grabbed the food. Lucy immediately sealed the door. The creature spun around, realizing it was trapped, and slammed against the clear wall. The whole box shook, but it held. "Sorry," Lucy said to the creature, "but this is for your own good. And ours." Getting the creature back to the horizon's edge was easier than Jake expected. Once it realized it couldn't break out of the box, it curled up in the corner and watched them with wary eyes. On the shuttle ride up, it didn't make a sound. Captain Lisa Grant was waiting for them in the cargo bay. She was a tall woman with dark skin and gray hair cut military short. She had commanded the horizon's edge for 12 years and didn't like surprises. Her face when she saw the creature made it clear this was a very unwelcome surprise. "Explain," she said to Jake, "why you brought an alien predator onto my ship." Jake explained everything. The facility, the experiments, the dead scientists, the creature's obvious intelligence and fear. Lisa listened with her arms crossed, her expression getting darker with each detail. "It's a child," Lucy added. "The Vraxians were torturing children. We couldn't leave it there to die." Lisa looked at the creature in the box. It stared back at her, unblinking. "That child just tore through security doors designed to stop plasma weapons. What happens when it decides to do the same thing to our hull? We'll keep it contained," Jake promised, "just until we can figure out what to do with it." Greg Palmer, the chief security officer, had been standing silently nearby. He was a big man with scars on his face from old fights. "I want it in the reinforced cargo hold. Triple locks. Guards posted at all times. And if it shows any signs of aggression, we space it." Jake wanted to argue, but Lisa nodded. "Agreed, but no harm comes to it unless absolutely necessary. It's a victim here, not a criminal. Understood, Greg?" Greg didn't look happy, but he nodded. They moved the creature to cargo hold 3. The room was normally used for storing dangerous materials, with walls made of triple-layered steel and a door that could withstand a direct hit from a missile. Jake watched as they transferred the creature from the transport box to the larger containment cell they had prepared. The cell had everything Lucy thought the creature might need. Soft bedding, food, water, even some toys from the ship's recreation supplies. The creature ignored all of it. It just sat in the center of the cell, watching the humans through the clear front wall. "What do we call it?" Lucy asked. "We can't keep saying the creature." "The facility called it Subject 7K, Pete said. Lucy shook her head. "That's not a name. That's a number. It deserves better than that." She looked at the creature. "How about Kit? It's small and it kind of looks like a fox kit with those big ears." The creature's ears twitched at the sound. Jake couldn't tell if it was responding to the name or just to Lucy's voice. "Kit it is," Lisa said. "Now everyone out. Let it rest. Lucy, I want full medical scans. Remote only. Nobody goes in that cell." For the first day, everything seemed fine. Kit ate the food they provided. It drank water. It even used the waste disposal unit they had installed, which proved it understood what things were for. The medical scans showed what Lucy had feared. The creature was sick. Its genetic code was unstable, fighting against the modifications the Vraxians had forced onto it. "Without treatment, Kit would die in a matter of weeks. Can you fix it?" Jake asked. Lucy stared at her computer screen. "Maybe, but I'd need to get closer. Run more tests. Figure out exactly what they did and how to reverse it. Set it up. Whatever you need." On the second night, Jake was asleep in his quarters when the alarms woke him. His computer screen flashed red. "Security breach in cargo hold 3. All personnel report to stations." Jake ran through the corridors in his sleep clothes. Other crew members were doing the same, pulling on uniforms as they moved. Greg met him at the cargo hold entrance holding a plasma rifle. "It's out," Greg said. "The thing tore through 3 walls. Reinforced steel. It went through them like they weren't there." Inside the cargo hold, the containment cell was destroyed. The clear front wall had deep gouges in it and one corner had been completely torn away. The 3 walls behind the cell each had a hole punched through them. Jake could see the next room through the damaged metal. "Where is it now?" Jake asked. "We don't know," Greg admitted. "It's not showing up on any scanners. It's like it's invisible. They searched the ship for 6 hours. Every deck, every room, every closet and storage space. Kit had vanished completely. The crew was on edge. Everyone knew what those claws could do to metal. What they could do to flesh was worse to think about. Jake returned to his quarters exhausted and frustrated. It was almost morning by ship time. He sat on his bunk and put his head in his hands. They had tried to help, and now a dangerous creature was loose on the ship. Lisa was probably going to confine him to quarters for this. Then he heard it. A soft sound like breathing, but not human breathing. It was too quick, too light. Jake slowly leaned over the side of his bunk and looked down. Two amber eyes stared back at him from under the bed. Kit was there, pressed flat against the floor, trying to make itself as small as possible. The creature was shaking. Jake froze. Kit could tear him apart before he could call for help. But the creature wasn't attacking. It just lay there, trembling, making small sounds that were almost like whimpers. Slowly, very slowly, Jake sat back up. He reached for his communicator and pressed it to send a text message instead of voice. Found Kit in my quarters. Under my bed. Not hostile. Need Lucy. Quietly. Lucy arrived 10 minutes later with a medical kit. She moved carefully, sitting on the floor several feet from the bed. She had brought food, which she pushed across the floor. Kit's nose appeared at the edge of the bed frame, sniffing. It's okay, Lucy said softly. You're safe here. Nobody's going to hurt you. Kit made a sound. It was soft and questioning, like a young animal calling for its mother. Jake felt his heart break a little. This creature, this dangerous hybrid that could tear through military-grade armor, was just a scared baby looking for comfort. Why here? Lucy asked quietly. Why Jake's room? Why under his bed? Jake thought about it. His quarters were small, tucked into a corner of the crew section. The space under his bed was even smaller, enclosed on 3 sides. Dark and protected. It's hiding, he said. It found the smallest, safest place on the ship. But why under your bed specifically? Lucy insisted, then Jake understood. Because I sleep here. It can hear me breathing, feel the weight of me above it. In the wild, young animals hide under their parents, under the protection of something bigger and stronger. He paused. It thinks I'm going to protect it. Lucy smiled. You did promise it back in the facility. Maybe it believed you. Greg arrived a few minutes later with 3 armed guards. He took one look at Kit under the bed and raised his weapon. Everyone back. I'll stun it and we'll move it to a stronger cell. No, Jake said. He didn't move from his bunk. It's not threatening anyone. It's hiding. It destroyed 3 walls. Because it was in a cage, Lucy said. Because it was scared and trapped. Look at it now. It's not trying to escape. It chose to come here. Greg pointed his weapon at the space under the bed. Kit made a sound that was definitely a whimper now. The next 3 days were strange for everyone on the horizon's edge. Jake's quarters became the most watched room on the ship. Guards stood outside at all times. Cameras monitored every corner, and under Jake's bed, Kit remained hidden, only emerging when Jake was alone and the room was quiet. Lucy spent hours reviewing the data they had recovered from the Vraxian facility. What she found made her angry in a way Jake had rarely seen. The doctor was usually calm and professional, but as she explained her findings to Jake and Lisa in the captain's office, her hands shook. They weren't just experimenting, Lucy said. They were building weapons. The Vraxians took their own children, infants really, and rewrote their genetic code. They added DNA from at least 6 different predator species. The goal was to create soldiers that were stronger, faster, and more aggressive than normal Vraxians. Why children? Lisa asked. Why not adult volunteers? Because the modifications only work on developing bodies, Lucy explained. An adult's genetic code is too stable, but an infant's body is still forming. The changes integrate better. Or they're supposed to. Jake felt sick. You said supposed to. Lucy pulled up a chart on the display screen. The modifications are unstable. The different DNA types are fighting each other. Kit's body is trying to reject the changes, but the engineered code keeps forcing itself back. It's killing Kit slowly. The other subjects in the facility died from the same thing. Kit is the only one who survived this long. Can you fix it? Lisa asked. Maybe, Lucy said. But I'd need time. Lots of time. And I'd need to run tests that require Kit to cooperate. Blood samples, tissue scans, genetic mapping. None of that can happen while Kit is hiding under a bed, terrified of everyone. Jake leaned back in his chair. What about the combat programming? You mentioned they enhanced aggression. Is Kit dangerous? Lucy was quiet for a moment. Yes and no. The genetic modifications include enhanced strength, faster reflexes, and improved healing. The claws can cut through almost anything, and yes, they tried to increase aggressive responses to threats. But here's the interesting part. The aggression programming is failing. Failing how? Lisa asked. Kit should have attacked us on sight, Lucy explained. That's what the modifications were designed to do. Make the subject see any unknown person as a threat and respond with immediate violence. But Kit didn't do that. Kit ran and hid. That's not programmed behavior. That's natural behavior. So the modifications are breaking down? Jake asked. Not exactly. They're being overridden. Vraxian young, in their natural state, are social creatures. They form strong bonds with caregivers. They seek protection from adults in their family group. Those instincts were supposed to be suppressed by the genetic changes. But Kit's natural instincts are fighting back. Winning, even. Lisa stood and walked to the window. Outside, stars streamed past as the ship traveled through space. So we have a creature that's incredibly dangerous but doesn't want to be. A child that was turned into a weapon but is trying to be just a child again. That's exactly right, Lucy said. And if the modifications continue to break down? Lisa asked. Lucy smiled. Then Kit becomes less dangerous and more like a normal Vraxian juvenile. Still strong, still smart, but not a living weapon anymore. How long will that take? Months, maybe a year. But only if Kit survives the genetic instability. Without treatment, Kit has maybe 3 weeks left. Lisa turned to Jake. How is Kit doing with you? Jake thought about the past few days. Better. Kit comes out from under the bed when I'm alone. Eats food from my hand now. Last night, Kit actually sat next to me while I was reading. Didn't let me touch Kit yet, but it's progress. Can you gain enough trust for medical treatment? Lisa asked. I can try. That evening, Jake sat on the floor of his quarters with his dinner. He had ordered extra food, including some of the Vraxian supplements Kit preferred. He ate slowly, talking to the darkness under his bed. Lucy needs to help you, Jake said. You're sick. The things they did to you are hurting you from inside. But Lucy can fix it. She's good at fixing things. A pair of amber eyes appeared at the edge of the bed frame. Kit was listening. I know you're scared, Jake continued. I know doctors hurt you before. The Vraxians, they did bad things. But Lucy isn't like them. She wants to help. Kit made a soft chirping sound. Over the past few days, Jake had learned that different sounds meant different things. This chirp was a question. Yes, I'll be there, Jake said. I'll stay with you the whole time. I promise. Slowly, Kit crawled out from under the bed. In the better light, Jake could see how thin the creature was. The dark fur couldn't hide the visible ribs. The glowing patterns on Kit's skin pulsed weakly like a dying battery. Kit moved closer, staying low to the ground, ready to run. But Kit came close enough to sniff the food in Jake's hand. Then, moving carefully, Kit took the food and ate it while sitting just 2 feet away from Jake. Good, Jake said softly. That's really good. Over the next week, Jake worked on building trust. He established a routine. Every morning he would wake up and talk to Kit before leaving for his shift. Every evening he would return and eat dinner on the floor, sharing food with Kit. Slowly, Kit began to relax around him. Pete helped by installing a small tablet computer in Jake's quarters. It was connected to the ship's database but simplified for easy use. Jake started leaving educational programs playing on it, children's shows from Earth, nature documentaries, anything with voices and images. Lucy discovered that Kit was watching. Not just watching, but learning. The creature's amber eyes would track movements on the screen. When characters spoke, Kit's ears would swivel to catch every word. One evening, Jake played a documentary about wolves. Kit watched the whole thing without moving, completely focused. Kit understands more than we thought, Lucy told Jake after reviewing the monitoring footage. Look at this. When the documentary explained how wolf packs work, Kit's body language changed. Kit was relating to it, understanding family structures, social bonds, protection. So Kit understands what we're saying? Jake asked. I think so. Maybe not every word, but the meaning behind them, the emotion. Kit is learning human language. Jake decided to test this theory. That evening, he sat on his bunk and spoke directly to the space under his bed. Kit, I need to ask you something. Will you come out so I can see you? There was a pause. Then Kit emerged, moving slowly but deliberately. The creature sat in front of Jake, looking up at him. Lucy needs to run some tests, Jake said. Medical tests. They won't hurt much. Maybe a small pinch for blood samples. But they're important. They'll help make you better. Do you understand? Kit tilted its head, studying Jake's face. Then the creature looked toward the door where it knew Lucy often appeared. "She's going to come in now," Jake said, "but only if you're okay with it. You can say no. If you're too scared, we'll wait. But Kit, you're really sick. We need to do this soon." Kit made a sound. It was low and musical, like a note from a flute. Jake had never heard it before. He took a chance and interpreted it as agreement. "Okay, I'm going to call Lucy now." Lucy arrived with a small medical kit. She moved slowly, sitting on the floor across from Kit. "Hello, Kit. I'm going to help you feel better. Is that okay?" Kit looked at Jake. He nodded. "It's okay. I'm right here." What happened next amazed both humans. Kit extended one small arm toward Lucy, offering it. The gesture was so human, so clearly understanding what was about to happen that Lucy had to blink away tears. "Thank you," Lucy said softly. She prepared a small injector for a blood sample. "This will pinch a little. Just a little." She pressed the injector to Kit's arm. Kit flinched but didn't pull away. A small sample of dark purple blood filled the vial. Lucy quickly applied a healing gel to the tiny wound. "All done," Lucy said. "You were so brave." Kit pulled its arm back and looked at the spot where the injection had been. The creature touched it carefully, then looked at Jake as if asking if this was normal. "You did great," Jake said. "Really great. Now Lucy can start figuring out how to help you." Over the next few days, Lucy ran constant tests. The results were both encouraging and worrying. Kit's genetic code was even more unstable than she had feared, but it was also showing signs of self-correction. The creature's natural Vraxian DNA was slowly winning the fight against the modifications. But not fast enough, Lucy explained to Jake. Kit's body is burning through energy trying to fix itself. That's why Kit is so thin. Every calorie goes to fighting the bad genetic code. At this rate, Kit will starve before the healing process completes. "What can we do?" Jake asked. "I can create a treatment. Genetic stabilizers that will help Kit's natural code win the fight. But it's going to take time to develop. And once I start treatment, Kit will need injections every day for months." Jake looked at Kit, who was curled up on his bed now instead of under it. The creature had claimed a corner of his bunk as a sleeping spot, always staying close to where Jake was. "Kit will do it." "Won't you, Kit?" Kit raised its head and made a questioning chirp. "We're going to make you better," Jake said. "It's going to take a while, but we'll do it together." Kit stood up and walked across the bed. For the first time, the creature pressed its head against Jake's hand. The gesture was so trusting, so affectionate, that Jake felt his throat tighten. The conference room felt smaller with the weight of the decision hanging over everyone. Lisa paced while her senior officers watched. Kit remained pressed against Jake's leg, those amber eyes fixed on the approaching red dots on the star map. "We need to think about this legally," Lucy said. She had pulled up galactic law codes on her tablet. "There are precedents. The Refugee Protection Act of 2287. Any sentient being fleeing persecution can claim asylum with any member species of the Galactic Council." "The Vraxians will argue Kit isn't sentient," Greg countered. "They'll say it's a genetically modified animal. Military property." "But Kit just spoke," Jake said. "Everyone heard it." "That proves sentience." Lisa stopped pacing. "Does it? 2 words under extreme stress? A good lawyer could argue that's just mimicry, like a parrot repeating sounds." "Then we need more proof," Lucy said. She looked at Kit. "Can you speak again? Can you tell them you don't want to go back?" Kit looked up at Jake, then at Lucy. The creature opened its mouth and Jake could see it struggling with the unfamiliar shapes needed to make human sounds. "Stay, want stay. Safe here." The words were rough and hard to understand, but they were undeniably words. Intentional communication. Greg leaned back in his chair, his expression changing. Even he couldn't deny what he was hearing. "That's more than mimicry," Pete said quietly. "That's understanding." "That's thought." Lisa sat down. "Okay, we have evidence of sentience. What else do we need?" Lucy scrolled through her tablet. "We need to prove persecution. That Kit was harmed and is fleeing that harm. We have the medical scans showing the genetic modifications. We have the data from the facility showing what they did. And we have Kit's obvious fear response to the approaching Vraxian ships. We also need to prove Kit made a choice," Jake added. "That Kit chose to stay with us rather than being kidnapped." Everyone looked at Kit. The creature was still trembling but seemed to understand it was the center of attention. "Choose here," Kit said, the words coming easier now. "Choose Jake. Choose safe." Lisa made her decision. "All right." We're claiming Kit as a refugee under galactic law. Greg, I need you to pull every legal precedent you can find. Lucy, document everything about Kit's condition and the abuse suffered. Pete, make sure all our recordings are backed up and secured. And Jake, you need to work with Kit on being able to speak more. If this goes to a hearing, Kit needs to testify. The next 6 hours were a blur of preparation. Jake sat with Kit in his quarters, teaching the creature more words. Kit was a fast learner, which made sense given how much the creature had already absorbed just from listening. The problem wasn't intelligence. It was physical. Kit's vocal structure wasn't designed for human speech. Your name, Jake said slowly. Can you say your name? Kit, the creature managed. The sound was rough but clear. Good, now try this. My name is Kit. My name is Kit. Each word was a struggle, but Kit got them out. Lucy came in with more medical equipment. I need to run some cognitive tests. Standard stuff. Pattern recognition, problem solving, memory. It'll help prove Kit is sentient. She set up a tablet with various puzzles. Kit completed them all easily, often faster than the human baseline times. When Lucy showed Kit pictures and asked about them hours later, Kit remembered every detail. The creature didn't just have intelligence. Kit had an impressive memory and analytical skills. This is good, Lucy said. Really good. Kit's cognitive abilities are well above the threshold for sentience. Even the Vraxians will have trouble arguing against this data. The Vraxian ships arrived right on schedule. 3 massive warships, each one 10 times the size of the horizon's edge. They took up positions surrounding the human vessel, blocking any escape route. The lead ship opened communications. The Vraxian commander who appeared on the view screen was intimidating even through a display. Commander Krelvar was old by Vraxian standards, his gray scales marked with the scars of many battles. His eyes were cold and hard as he looked at Lisa. Captain Grant, he said. His voice was deep and had a growling quality. You have something that belongs to the Vraxian Imperium. Return it immediately. Lisa stood straight, her command voice firm. Commander Krelvar, we have rescued a sentient refugee who was fleeing persecution. Under galactic law, we are obligated to provide protection. Krelvar's expression didn't change. You have stolen military property. Subject 7K is the result of expensive research and Vraxian resources. It will be returned. Subject 7K has a name, Lisa said. Kit, and Kit is not property. Kit is a person who has expressed clear desire to remain under human protection. Ridiculous, Krelvar said. The creature is a failed experiment. It cannot speak or reason. Return it now or we will take it by force. Lisa had been prepared for this. Kit, would you please come to the bridge? Jake had been waiting just outside the view screen's range. He walked onto the bridge with Kit at his side. The creature looked small and vulnerable in the military setting, but Kit walked with determination toward the communication display. Krelvar's eyes widened slightly when he saw Kit. It was the first crack in his stern expression. That should be dead, he said quietly. All the subjects died. My name is Kit, the creature said, speaking slowly but clearly. I am not dead, I am here. I choose stay with humans. I choose Jake, I not go back. The bridge was silent. Even Krelvar seemed momentarily at a loss for words. Kit had just destroyed his main argument. This was clearly not a mindless animal. The creature has been trained to repeat phrases, Krelvar said, recovering. This proves nothing. Kit, Lisa said, can you tell the commander why you don't want to go back? Kit looked at Jake, who nodded encouragement. The creature turned back to the display. Vraxians hurt Kit, make Kit different, wrong, pain, always pain. Other cubs die. All die but Kit, Kit escape. Kit find Jake, Jake nice. Jake keep Kit safe. No more hurt. Please, no more hurt. The words were simple and broken, but the emotion behind them was clear. Kit was pleading. Every person on the bridge felt it. Jake saw Lucy wipe her eyes. Krelvar's expression hardened. The creature was created for a purpose. It is Vraxian. It belongs with Vraxians. Kit was tortured, Lucy said, stepping forward. The genetic modifications you forced onto an infant are killing Kit. The instability in Kit's genetic code would have resulted in death within weeks if we hadn't intervened. You weren't trying to create anything. You were killing children. Those children volunteered, Krelvar said. Kit was a baby, Lucy shot back. How does a baby volunteer? Their parents volunteered them. For the glory of the Imperium, Jake felt sick. The parents had given up their own children to be experimented on. He put his hand on Kit's shoulder, and the creature leaned into him, seeking comfort. Lisa raised her hand to stop the argument. This isn't getting us anywhere. Commander, we have documented evidence of the abuse Kit suffered. We have medical records showing the damage done. We have cognitive tests proving Kit is sentient, and we have Kit's own testimony of choosing to remain with us. Under galactic law, specifically the Refugee Protection Act of 2287, Kit has the right to asylum. Human laws do not apply to Vraxian property, Krelvar said. Galactic laws apply to everyone, Lisa countered. Are you saying the Vraxian Imperium doesn't recognize the authority of the Galactic Council? That made Krelvar pause. The Vraxian Imperium was powerful, but they couldn't afford to be seen as rejecting galactic law entirely. It would cost them politically and economically. This matter will be decided by the galactic courts, Krelvar said finally. Until then, the subject will remain in custody. Kit will remain under human protection, Lisa said firmly. If you want to contest that in court, you're welcome to file the proper paperwork. But you will not take Kit by force. Krelvar leaned forward, and for a moment Jake thought the commander might order an attack. 3 warships against 1 exploration vessel. It would be a short fight. But then Krelvar sat back. You are making a serious mistake, Captain Grant. The Imperium does not forget insults. And humanity doesn't abandon refugees, Lisa replied. We'll see you in court, Commander. The communication cut off. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then Greg let out a breath. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, Lisa admitted. She looked at Kit. You did well. Very well. Kit looked up at Jake. Safe now? Safer, Jake said. They can't take you by force without breaking galactic law, but they're going to try other ways. Over the next few days, the Vraxian ships remained in position around the horizon's edge. They didn't attack, but they didn't leave either. It was a standoff. Lisa sent formal requests for the ships to move, citing navigation hazards. Krelvar ignored them. Jake spent his time helping Kit learn more language. The creature was improving rapidly, adding new words every day, but it was the emotional growth that amazed Jake most. Kit was starting to express feelings beyond fear and hunger. The creature showed curiosity about the ship, asked questions about the crew, and even demonstrated a sense of humor. One evening, Kit was watching a comedy show on the tablet. When a character slipped on a banana peel, Kit made a sound that was clearly laughter. It was high-pitched and musical, completely different from human laughter, but unmistakably the same emotion. You think that's funny? Jake asked, smiling. Yes, funny person fall down. Not hurt, just silly. Krelvar stared down at Kit. The small creature's claws glowed brighter, casting amber light across the smoke-filled bridge. Every Vraxian warrior had their weapon trained on Kit, but none of them moved. They had seen what those claws could do to reinforced steel. They had read the reports from the facility. Stand aside, subject, Krelvar said. You were made to obey Vraxian commands. Not subject, Kit said. The creature's voice was stronger now, more confident. Name is Kit, Kit is person. Kit choose. You cannot choose. You are property. Kit's whole body tensed. Jake could see the combat programming fighting with the creature's natural instincts. Kit wanted to attack. Every genetic modification in that small body was screaming to strike first, to defend through violence. But Kit was fighting it. Fighting against what the Vraxians had tried to make Kit become. Kit not property, the creature said through clenched teeth. Kit is Kit, belong to no one. Stay because want to. Stay because these people kind. These people not hurt Kit. These people make Kit feel safe. Jake watched in amazement. Kit was choosing. In this moment, with every instinct telling the creature to attack, Kit was choosing a different path. Not violence, but words. Not destruction, but protection. Krelvar raised his weapon. If you will not come peacefully, then you will come in pieces. We need only your genetic code. Your body is irrelevant. That's when Kit moved, but not to attack Krelvar. Kit pushed Jake backward, away from the line of fire. The creature had understood the threat and was trying to protect him. Lucy gasped. Greg swore. Even Lisa looked shocked. No hurt, Jake, Kit said firmly. Jake is Kit's person. Kit protect Jake. Krelvar's finger tightened on the trigger. Jake saw it happening in slow motion. The Vraxian commander was going to shoot. Kit would die. After everything, after finding safety and learning to trust, Kit would be killed by the same species that had created this nightmare. But before Krelvar could fire, alarms blared throughout the ship. A new voice came over the communications system. It was deep and carried authority that made everyone freeze. "This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Fleet Vessel Defender. All Vraxian ships, power down your weapons immediately. You are in violation of galactic law. Release the civilian vessel you are holding." On the bridge view screen, a massive human warship appeared. It was 3 times the size of the Vraxian vessels, bristling with weapons. And it wasn't alone. 2 more human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel, taking up positions around the horizon's edge. Krelvar's expression changed. He had assumed humans wouldn't risk war over one creature. He had been wrong. "This is an internal Vraxian matter," Krelvar said into his communicator. "This is a refugee protection matter," Admiral Chen replied. "And it became our matter when you opened fire on a civilian vessel. You have 10 seconds to withdraw your boarding parties and return to your ships. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war." Jake could see the calculation in Krelvar's eyes. 3 Vraxian warships against 3 human warships. The fight would be close. People would die, ships would be destroyed, and all for one small creature. "This isn't over," Krelvar said. He looked at Kit one more time. "You were meant to be the first of a new generation of warriors. You were supposed to bring glory to the Imperium." "Kit bring glory to no one," the creature said. "Kit just want to live, want to be safe, want to have family. Not want to be weapon." Krelvar was silent for a long moment. Then something strange happened. His expression softened just slightly. For a brief second, Jake saw something in the commander's eyes. Was it regret, sadness, understanding? "Stand down," Krelvar ordered his troops. "We're leaving." The Vraxian warriors retreated. Within minutes, they had returned to their ships. The 3 warships hung in space for a few more minutes as if Krelvar was reconsidering. Then they turned and jumped to faster-than-light travel, vanishing into the darkness. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the view screen. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Captain Grant, status report. No casualties, Admiral. Minor damage to Deck 4. We're secure. Good. And the refugee?" Lisa gestured to Kit, who was still standing protectively in front of Jake. "This is Kit, the center of this whole situation." Admiral Chen studied Kit for a moment. "Hello, Kit. I'm Admiral Chen. I understand you've had a rough time." Kit looked at Jake, who nodded encouragement. "Hello, Admiral Chen. Thank you for help." Kit was scared. Vraxians want to take Kit back. Make Kit weapon again. Kit not want to be weapon. The Admiral's expression softened. "No one should be made into a weapon, especially not a child. Kit, the human government has reviewed your case. We're prepared to offer you full refugee status. That means you can stay with us. The Vraxians cannot legally take you. Do you understand?" "Understand," Kit said.
"Kit can stay with Jake?"
"If that's what both of you want, yes." Kit turned to Jake. Those amber eyes were full of hope and something else. Something that looked very much like love. Jake want Kit to stay? Jake felt his throat tighten. Over the past few weeks, this creature had gone from a terrifying unknown to something much more. Kit had become part of his life, part of his daily routine. Kit told him jokes now, asked about his day, worried when Jake was upset. Kit wasn't a weapon or an experiment or even just a refugee. Kit was family. "Yes," Jake said. "I want you to stay, as long as you want to be here." Kit made that musical laugh sound and threw small arms around Jake's waist, hugging him. "Stay forever. Jake is Kit's home." The next few weeks were busy. The Galactic courts formally recognized Kit's refugee status. The Vraxian Imperium protested but didn't push the issue. Losing 3 warships and risking a full war wasn't worth it, especially when the evidence of their illegal experiments became public. Several Vraxian officials were prosecuted. The facility on Keth 7 was destroyed. Lucy continued Kit's treatments. The genetic instability was slowly correcting itself. Kit was gaining weight, getting stronger, looking healthier. The glowing patterns on Kit's skin became brighter and more vibrant. And the combat programming continued to fade, replaced by the natural Vraxian instincts for family and social bonding. Kit learned more every day. The creature could speak in full sentences now, though the voice still had that rough quality. Kit learned to read, devouring books from the ship's library. Kit learned about human culture, about Earth, about the vastness of space and all the species that called it home. But most importantly, Kit learned what it meant to be safe, to be loved, to be part of a family. Jake's quarters officially became Kit's living space. The ship's logs listed it as special accommodation for refugee under safety protocol, but everyone knew what it really meant. Kit lived with Jake, slept in Jake's bed now, not under it, went with Jake to the mess hall for meals, followed Jake on his daily duties when possible. They were a team. One evening, 3 months after the Vraxian confrontation, Jake was working at his desk when Kit came over with a tablet. The creature had been drawing, something Lucy had taught Kit to do as therapy. Kit showed Jake the picture. It was a drawing of the horizon's edge, and inside it, stick figures representing the crew. Kit had drawn Jake bigger than the others, with Kit standing next to him. Above the drawing, Kit had written words in careful letters. "My family." Jake looked at the drawing, then at Kit. The creature was smiling, a gesture Kit had learned from watching humans. It wasn't quite right with the Vraxian facial structure, but the emotion behind it was clear. "That's beautiful, Kit," Jake said. "Can I keep it?" "Is for Jake," Kit said proudly. Kit drew a picture of home, of people Kit loved. Jake hung the picture on his wall right next to his desk where he could see it while working. It stayed there for years to come, a reminder of the day a terrified creature who could tear through armor chose trust over violence, chose kindness over rage, chose family over everything else. Lisa called Jake to her office a week later. "I've received orders from Earthfleet. They want a full report on Kit. There's talk of changing our first contact protocols based on what happened. How we handle refugees, especially ones from species that don't see things the way we do." "Kit has changed a lot of minds," Jake said. "Even some Vraxians are questioning their military programs now. All because you decided to help instead of leave behind," Lisa said. She smiled. "That was either the bravest or the stupidest thing you've ever done." "I haven't decided which." "Both," Jake admitted. "Definitely both." "Well, Earthfleet wants you and Kit to come to headquarters. They want Kit to speak to the Galactic Council. Tell Kit's story. It could help change laws, protect others like Kit." Jake thought about that. It would mean leaving the horizon's edge, at least temporarily, but it would also mean helping others, making sure no other child suffered what Kit had suffered. "I'll ask Kit, but I think Kit will want to do it. Kit is brave." That night, Jake sat with Kit and explained the opportunity. Kit listened carefully, those intelligent eyes focused on Jake's face. "Other cubs need help?" Kit asked. "Other children hurt like Kit was hurt?" "Probably. In different ways, by different species. But yes, and you telling your story could help them." Kit thought about that for a long time. Finally, the creature nodded. "Kit will speak. Kit will help. But Jake come too?" "Always," Jake promised. "We're a team, remember?" Kit's face did that almost smile again.